Budget airlines don't save you as much as you think. In fact, many of them are becoming an outright scam. These companies have admitted to secretly paying their gate agents a bribe to claim passengers' bags are too big, even when they're not, forcing people to pay a ridiculously overpriced baggage fee.
You pay your employees a fee. Do you incentivize them to go pick out bags from people getting on planes and kick them off the flight? Just yes or no?
We charge them an incentive.
Okay, that's a yes.
This is just one of the many ways these airlines are ripping you off, and combined with their uncomfortable ride and notoriously unreliable service, those cheap tickets feel less like a deal and more like a gamble that's not worth the hassle. Budget airlines, as they're typically referred to, isn't technically the correct term for companies like Spirit, Allegiant, and Frontier. They're officially called ultra-low-cost carriers, and that low cost refers to the airline saving money on their operating expenses, not necessarily the customer having a low cost. These airlines are all about offering the bare minimum while maximizing profit wherever they can. Think sardine can seating, non-existent customer service, and being shaken down for every extra dollar. Despite knowing that, flying has become so expensive that many of us are willing to endure these hassles anyway just to save a few bucks. After all, we just need to get from point A to point B, right? Assuming you aren't getting scammed by a gate agent for your baggage, many argue that these airlines are the perfect example of you get what you pay for. They're meant to be the Greyhound for the skies, where cheap transportation is the only important factor. However, these low-cost carriers thrive on the illusion of savings. Sure, the upfront ticket price looks tempting, but between the many hidden additional fees, lack of comfort, and reliability issues, it quickly adds up to a worse value overall. These cheap flights aren't what they seem. You really need to understand their policies for your best chance at saving any money and have to fly with basically nothing, which most people do not do. Practically all ultra-low-cost airlines will try their hardest to rip you off when it comes to baggage. If you're flying somewhere for an extended stay or require checking a bag, you're probably better off using a different carrier. Between 2022 and 2023, Spirit and Frontier paid gate agents a combined $26 million in bonuses for charging passengers extra fees, oftentimes for perfectly acceptable bags.
$26 million. I mean, if people want to know why it's such a terrible experience to fly, this is news for them today. Your airlines are paying millions of dollars to your employees to harass people who've already paid.
When you're at the gate, you have no choice but to pay their made-up fines, and it's incredibly frustrating for this to happen when you follow their policies properly. Frontier alone projected $40 million in revenue from these fees.
What is it, $90?
$89.
$89 because it doesn't fit in here. Okay. Here we go. This should do the trick. All right. How's that?
Spirit Airlines, which have consistently been ranked the most hated airline in America, declared bankruptcy in November of 2024. This was after the FTC blocked their attempted merger with JetBlue in the same year. If you've ever flown with Spirit, you could probably guess why they aren't doing so well.
Guys, never fly with Spirit, okay? They're the worst. They suck.
We got delayed, and now we're back, and there's no pilots to be found, and there's no answer.
This morning, bullet holes line the inside of the Spirit Airlines plane after Haitian gangs opened fire on the jet over Port-au-Prince.
You're trying to tell me they weren't in bankruptcy this entire time? They were the only airline whose business model is, you didn't happen to bring a working airplane, did you?
Spirit is even worse than Ticketmaster when it comes to their hidden fees. They'll charge you to print your boarding pass, for a sip of water, and something called a passenger usage fee, which is really just a made-up charge for buying the ticket online. Compare the total price of buying the same flight online versus purchasing it at the airport, and you'll see how ridiculous this fee really is. Considering the hidden fees in the total, the costs often come out pretty similar or more expensive than full-fare carriers. If you take a round-trip flight from New York to Orlando on Spirit, the base fare might be around $120 according to Google Flights, but once you actually add on a bunch of hidden fees, taxes, and $110 for carry-on, the total suddenly comes out to $383. Meanwhile, Delta's basic economy ticket for the same route costs $241 and includes a carry-on and some free snacks too. While this isn't always the case, ultra-low-cost carriers are often not the cheapest option by the time you come to checkout. But many people only see the base price and assume that they are. They just don't know better. And it's not just the hidden fees you need to worry about. Low-cost carriers, especially for the ones in Europe, often fly out of secondary airports far from city centers. Sure, your ticket to London might have been cheap, but when you factor in the cost of a long taxi ride from Stansted instead of Heathrow, it suddenly isn't that great of a deal anymore. This is becoming more of a trend for North American budget airlines too, as they're starting to get squeezed out of major airports as competition for gates rises.
Attention! We have a gate change for passengers going to Cleveland. Your old gate was A7, your new gate is G46. It is physically impossible for you to make it to that gate in time, and the plane will leave empty. Thank you.
Flying low cost also means sacrificing comfort. Spirit and Frontier offer just 28 inches of legroom compared to the 30 plus inches you'll find on mainline carriers. 2 inches might not sound like much,
Well, I beg to differ.
but your knees will definitely notice. Most seats don't recline, and there's no in-flight entertainment, so you'll have to raw dog the entire thing. Meanwhile, legacy carriers, even in basic economy, have included free snacks, drinks, and many other amenities. The discomfort doesn't just stop at their seats. Your entire trip on a budget airline can be an uncomfortable game of chance. Budget airlines cater mostly to leisure travelers heading to destinations like a weekend trip to Las Vegas. But for many passengers, their biggest gamble isn't at the slot machines. It's whether their airline will even get them there.
You guys have to fix this. There's no way. What are we supposed to do?
This is insane, yo.
So we're just supposed to stay in Atlanta, in the airport for 24 hours. You're guessing, like there's no one else that you can ask?
You know that there was issues leaving Philadelphia, and you don't give a about us.
Low-cost carriers are breeding grounds for chaos as they lead in in-flight cancellations and delays. That's not bad luck, it's a feature of their business model. To maximize profits, these airlines oversell their flights, yet are not nearly as equipped to handle unexpected issues. A weather delay in one city could suddenly cause their entire operation to collapse and your flight is canceled. While no airline is immune to Mother Nature and mechanical problems, legacy carriers are more proactive, offering better compensation and rebooking options much faster. With low-cost airlines, you're stuck navigating a labyrinth of chatbots and hold music.
Please hold.
Southwest doesn't assign seats. Just another way we're making flying feel like riding a city bus.
For many passengers, an inconvenience such as a long delay can ruin an entire trip. Saving a few bucks on that ticket suddenly doesn't feel like such a bargain. Even then, low-cost airlines might sometimes save you a little up front, but legacy carriers are beating them at the long game. Their loyalty programs and co-branded credit cards offer passengers real value, letting you earn points on everyday purchases that can be redeemed for flights, upgrades, and even hotels. When considering points into the equation, there's even less reason to fly budget. A crazy fact, Delta's American Express cards alone account for nearly 1% of US GDP and consumer spending. Meanwhile, Spirit and Frontier's loyalty programs are pretty terrible in comparison. Even beyond loyalty programs, mainline carriers have responded to budget competition by introducing basic economy fares. These tickets strip out some perks like seat selection, but still include essentials like reclining seats, complimentary snacks, and free Wi-Fi. For many travelers, it's a clear winner. While low-cost carriers struggle to remain profitable and their service can often be pretty lackluster, we as consumers shouldn't want them to fail. Strict regulation and general consumer habits seem to be going against them, however. In Europe, low-cost carriers are viewed more favorably, with Ryanair standing out as the king of budget flights. While it's still a no-frills airline, it's managed to avoid some of the chaos and poor customer service that plague US carriers like Spirit and Frontier. Ryanair CEO Michael O'Leary is infamous for his outrageous ideas, like charging for toilets or introducing standing cabins.
We have 3 toilets. If I can get rid of the 2 toilets at the back of the planes, I can add 6 extra seats. With 6 extra seats, I can lower everybody's airfare by another 5% all year round.
Did you want to make some passengers stand on planes to fit more people in, a la the tube?
Yes.
none of which ever materialized. But Ryanair has pretty exceptional operational efficiency, which means passengers are more likely to arrive on time, even if they're sitting in a cramped seat with no armrests, and Ryanair hasn't resorted to nearly as many hidden fees as their North American counterparts. Ryanair also leans into its reputation with self-aware marketing, making passengers fully understanding of what they're getting themselves into.
Nothing bad happened? You didn't wreck it? You didn't hit anybody? You didn't run anybody over? You didn't get a speeding ticket? Wait, Jeffy, why are you making that face? Jeffy, did you get a speeding ticket?
Low-cost carriers promised cheap flights, but delivered stress, discomfort, and hidden fees that often make it not worthwhile. Meanwhile, mainline carriers have filled the gap, offering basic economy fares that combine affordability with real perks and the added value of loyalty programs. If you're traveling light and are fairly flexible with your schedule, budget airlines might still work for you. But for most travelers, the peace of mind, better experience, and long-term rewards you get with a mainline carrier are worth the extra cost. So the next time you're tempted by a $39 ticket, think twice. Is it really worth it if you're incredibly uncomfortable, later ripped off for things that should have been included, and take the risk of being stranded somewhere with no help? At the end of the day, flying is supposed to get you where you need to go, not make you question why you ever left home.